Good morning, folks. Well, we've reached our first destination for today. We are at the Hofweiler Plantation State Historic Site. I'll get this turned around so y'all can read that correctly. There it is right there. However, the gate's still closed. We got about 5 minutes till they open up. So, but that's what the grounds look like right there, going into the plantation. Magnolia tree there, magnolia in bloom here. So, we'll be in there shortly. Probably take a tour of the house, the grounds, see what there is to see. There is another sign right over there. Yeah, there he is. And it's trying to rain out on us. We're supposed to do this all day long, so we'll see what happens. Nice beautiful oak tree with lots of moss there. That's the picnic area. Big old magnolia over there with moss. Well, folks, we are walking up to the visitor center. Some beautiful old trees. Lots of flies out here, though. Lots of flies. Big old yellow flies. I'm not sure where the residence is, actually, but we'll find out once we get in here. So maybe I'll get some steps in today. I ain't been getting hardly any steps in. So I'm going to shut you off while I go in here, and I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, folks, we're going to walk down to the plantation. There are some outbuildings we're going to look at, but the tour does not start till 10 o'clock. And we are probably going to get wetted on. So, we'll see. He said there were some outbuildings that I can actually go into if the rain gets too bad. But cannot get into the plantation house itself until the tour starts at 10 o'clock. So we will show you a little bit of this walk going down. And these big old yellow flies are deer flies. They're just kind of yellow. I'm used to the brown ones we have in Texas. So, but he says about a 10-minute walk to get down here. And we'll see. This place is called the Hofweiler Broadfield Plantation. So we're down in amongst all these old oaks. Let me get this turned around and show y'all some of this. Big old oak trees, Spanish moss. A couple of benches out there. So, okay. Well, folks, we are in the dairy barn here. You can hear the rain. There's a little building over here. Let's see if we can get in there. Oh, Lord. Whew, man. Okay. My guess is that's the ice house to store the milk. Refrigerator there. Whew, man. I'm going to tell you, I don't mind the rain, but them flies coming down here was killing me. Well, like somebody was making a submarine there. I'm not sure what that would have been for. But that there was the dairy barn we were just in. There's feed troughs, concrete feed troughs there on both sides. So, yeah, let's go see what else we can see. Okay, I believe that's the main house straight there in front of us. Another little outhouse here, outbuilding. I'm sorry, not an outhouse, outbuilding. And then we got this here. Not sure which one this is. It's the commissary. I'll let y'all read that. So, let's go into the commissary. Not much of a commissary, just a bunch of tools. but it's dry, full of bugs. Old cap and die. Plowshares. Let's make a mad dash for that place over there. Not sure what this one is. Man, but it's dry. Not sure if this is someone's house or what. There's another building over yonder. I know there's another one out behind me here. Right there. I thought there was another one back there. Ooh, man. Okay. We're going to hang out here for a minute. Well, folks, we come into this other little building here, but there's no way to get into the other part. These doors are locked. So, not sure what this would have been here. Maybe those rooms and this is the main room. I don't know. Got a building over there. This rain looks like it's going to get worse for the next hour and then get better, I guess, after that. So I'm already soaking wet, so it really don't matter. So I just got to keep my phone dry. So we'll be back in a minute. And this is the plantation house, folks. We got to get around front though. So let's get around front. Oh, okay, good. We can get in. Okay. Ooh. There. And that's looking out towards the marsh, folks. Got a sundial right there on that post. Magnolia tree. Look at all them old trees. Those were youngsters. Young trees when this plantation was built. Building right there we haven't checked out. There's a storyboard. Okay, we're going to sit here and wait for the tour to start. Bring y'all back later.
The property that belongs to the family is more of a fancier plantation type house, Savannah style, but it burnt down sometime between 1851 and 1861. At one point the family had 3 houses though, so they were definitely not homeless. So they had a home in Savannah, in this house, and in the house that burnt down. So they just kind of moved to Savannah, and they were here in the winter time. But the risk of malaria kept them from staying here.
I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be here in the summertime.
Yeah. It wasn't until 1903 that they permanently moved into this house, because that's when screens were developed, around the time screens were developed, and the wealthier families. But one of the older pieces we have in the house is this piece right here. This is from 1785. It's called a secretary desk. Mm-hmm. It's light red mahogany. And there's a couple hidden compartments here, right here, and then in the bottom of this little drawer. Last time I tried to open that drawer, I popped the little handle off. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But this came from the Charleston Furniture. Quite the odd funeral. They both died here on the property, and they had both a Christian and Jewish funeral. Alice DuPont had bought Ophelia a very nice chandelier for the dining room here. Obviously, that's not here right now. The story is Ophelia and her sister absolutely hated that chandelier. They thought it was hideous. So they took it down and they put it in storage. And then whenever Alice and the DuPonts would come to visit, they would hire someone to put it back up. So they just wouldn't have a chandelier here, or they'd switch it out for when she came, because they hated it, but they didn't want her to feel bad. So they would hang it up when Alice came to visit, and then take it down when she left. So kind of a silly thing to do, but.
So is it still in storage, or did they get rid of it?
I'm not sure where it is, honestly. I know we did have another chandelier that they had put in here later on after the state took over, but it wasn't original. So I don't know if we still have that one or not. But Ophelia also wanted to buy a chandelier later in her life, and she was very indecisive. She couldn't find the specific one she wanted. So that was toward the end of her life. So she just never found it, and then she passed away. So that's why we don't have a chandelier in here, because she didn't pick one. It kind of fits the story. So it's not very pretty, but there's a story behind it. So these dishes here, these are Canton china from Canton, China, which was a port city where they painted these beautiful designs and they glazed them and then they imported them to Europe and America, 1800 to 1860. So these are very old. And Ophelia still used them even in her day. She thought they were beautiful, and when she'd have friends over, she would break them out. Occasionally she would just use them when it was just her. Rudolph said that he made tiny little casseroles in these fish at one point. I guess he got bored one day.
Yeah.
But these are mainly used for like fish bones and chicken bones, things like that. You just pop them in there.
Okay, I thought it was like to hold a spoon or a ladle for the.
Yeah, it could.
But,
I think they would have used it for multiple purposes, but we believe the original purpose was intended to be for fish bones and chicken bones. So these glasses here, these are pretty interesting. These are called Vaseline glass, otherwise known as uranium glass. So they do contain uranium. They are radioactive, but just sitting here, they do emit radioactivity, but it's not any more than what you naturally get from the sun. The making of these would have been really bad. Anything containing uranium, the people that made things with it, they suffered greatly. Lost fingertips. Some cases, their jaws rotted off of their face, or their tongue rotted out of their mouth. And they were basically forced to work with this material. So these actually, they made these, started making uranium glass pretty early, around 1830 in Eastern Europe. And then they made them all the way up until World War II, so the 1940s. And the only reason they stopped making them was because they needed the uranium for bombs instead. So not because people were dying from making them, but because they wanted more people to die. So pretty sad story behind these, but they are pretty cool that they glow like that. And there's a few more in the bottom of that shelf over there.
Oh yeah.
So if you have any antiques, hit them with a black light.
I do.
They might glow.
I go to yard sales with a black light looking for uranium glass.
Yeah. A lot
I don't keep it, I just resell it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what they got.
Exactly, yeah. And even in the like antique shops and things, a lot of the people don't know anything about it. So and in here. Trying to get you some good light, but it's just not working out.
Like a couple shotguns in there. Looks like, well, maybe not. No, okay, the one is, there's two shotguns in there, isn't there?
There's three. There's the double barrel shotgun, which is from late 1880s. I can't remember exactly what year. It's Parker Brothers. Not the same company as the toy company, I don't think, anyways.
It could be. I mean, they made guns. You know, it's like Remington built typewriters, but they made guns. So,
could be.
Yeah.
And then this one here, 1886 Winchester. This one here, 1873, and it's also a Winchester.
I'd love to have that one. Actually, I like to have all of them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And the two swords here, if you didn't see those, these are from the Civil War. This one here is a Confederate captain's sword, and this one is a Union captain's sword. So what we believe happened, how they got a Union sword, was because when they surrendered, the captain would have to give their captain's sword to the captain that they surrendered to. That's why they had a Union sword. And George Columbus Dent, Ophelia's grandfather, was a Confederate captain in the Army. Her father was in the Confederate Army as well. So that's why they had that sword. And there's some other cool stuff in here, some wooden golf clubs, some dancing shoes, Rudolph's work uniform, his apron and his shirt in the photograph there. That German Shepherd belonged to the family, and he only liked two people, Ophelia and Rudolph. Everyone else he would try to eat. So he's very protective. Lots of goodies in there. And the bed here was Ophelia's bed. She never married, so she slept alone, and she was a very small lady, so she just needed a small bed. And she actually made this bedspread. She knitted it with a 0.5 knitting needle, so that tiny little needle right there. So evidently she had really good eyesight and a lot of patience, because it would be very tedious.
Yes.
And this gentleman here, this is Gratz, Ophelia and Miriam's brother. He studied agriculture at Yale. So he spent a lot of his early years working on farms. Even though he went to Yale, he still went out and worked on farms. Oh, wait until you get to that second level up there.
Okay.
Work your leg workout in.
My knees will hate me later, but
Nope.
I need to get steps in. Yeah, he told me that I could drive my truck down here if I wanted to. I said, no, I'll walk. You're going to rain. I said, the only thing that does is mess with my phone.
All right, so this bedroom here, it's pretty dark in there. Usually this is the very light bedroom, but where it's gloomy out. This was Miriam's room, Ophelia's sister. The girls did share this room when they were young. They still hung out here. According to Rudolph, they would sit at that table in the middle and have coffee or tea and chat, write Christmas cards together and that sort of thing. Very beautiful room though. That's the master bedroom. Again, dark and gloomy today. So pretty big room here, screened in fireplace. That's how they heat the house up until the 1930s when Ophelia and Miriam got a coal burning furnace, and then they got some heat going. So this bed here is kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can work my flashlight here. I usually can't get it going. There we go. So you can see on the post here, there's the rice plant engraved into the wood. So this is called a rice bed. They were made for plantation owners. So that's why it gets that name, and because there's rice carved onto it. This one here was made about 1790. So it's very old. And it's also a rope bed. So instead of having the slats under the mattress, you have interwoven ropes.
Okay.
There's slats under there now, but originally it was a rope bed.
Yeah.
So this little nub there, you would take this handy dandy tool.
Oh yeah.
And you
would tighten up your ropes.
Yep. So you do it on each corner, and that's where the term sleep tight comes from these rope beds.
Ah. I learned something new.
So this bedspread here, this was actually knitted by Ophelia's grandmother. Her name was also Ophelia. And she knitted it with that 0.5 knitting needle again. Very, very detailed, very beautiful. This dates back to the Civil War, around the time of the Civil War. So it's a very old bedspread here. We actually had to have it mended at one point. We had to send it off to Atlanta. There were some holes in it and things. And they were able to fix it, and it cost us about $2,000 to fix this blanket. So it's one of the things in the house I don't touch.
Yeah.
Even though I want to, it's beautiful. I kind of want to curl up on it. I don't touch it because it's so old. And it's not going to last forever. Unfortunately, it is fabric knitted, so those things don't last forever, unfortunately.
That was a lot. It was an early trundle bed, but I guess that's just to store the blankets and stuff.
No, it's a trundle bed.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Very early trundle bed. So third and fourth generation, they obviously had kids. Kids always want to sleep with mom and dad, so this was where they put them. I always joke and say that's where they put the bad kids and shove them up under the bed.
That works for me.
But yeah, and they did use it as storage as well, but it is a trundle bed. And then that back there is a crib, mahogany, 1830s. We don't have it put together because it's missing a few pieces, so it would just kind of fall apart. So that's why we have it just leaned up over there. Any questions in here? So that is what's it called? It's a Russian war. I can't remember what it's called. There's a couple of drawings in here of that war. We're not really sure why they had it. We didn't really see or find any like relatives that fought in that war or anything like that. So we think maybe they were just interested in it.
Could be. I mean, I've got a friend. He likes military stuff or war stuff, and he collects a lot of stuff that he has no relatives in. But yeah, so.
And then this little room here, you can walk through there. That is just a little office. At one point they did use it as a nursery. But the desk in here is a roll top desk. This is 1850, and it is burled walnut. So very unique grain in that wood. And it's a stamped leather inlay there.
I was gonna say that's somebody had done some leather stamping or had some stamps, and I'm not gonna touch it. But is that leather or is that wood?
That's leather. In the middle there, yeah.
Okay. Very erratic stamping, but
yeah.
Okay.
You can definitely tell it was done by hand. And that's an old adding machine there. It still works. My boss.
I've used one like that. We had one in school, 7th grade.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
And these are rice birds, bobolinks is what they're called. That's the male, that's the female. So we have this here. These birds are actually still in this region, a very small population. So they actually used to come through here by the millions. They would migrate.
Adding up more stairs.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Oh, there goes the attic.
Yeah.
Oh, modern day bathroom.
Yeah, so that was added in the 40s. There's actually a bathroom downstairs, that little door off of that bedroom that was in that room. I just didn't have it open. So they were added in the 40s. This was a guest bedroom here. When the guests would come, they would stay for weeks, if not months at a time, because it's so difficult to get out here, and traveling was definitely not as easy as it is today.
Yeah, that's a small room.
This room was larger. They cut it in half to make room for that bathroom there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we believe originally this was Gratz's bedroom, Ophelia's brother, when he was here. And that's Gratz there in that picture with some dogs.
With the 3 dogs.
They love dogs. They always have lots of dogs here.
Looks like an Irish setter. Either a Springer or a Brittany Spaniel. I'm not sure which. And then a Collie or a Collie mix.
Yeah, they seem to always have purebred dogs.
Yeah, well, when you got money,
Yeah.
a lot of people consider it a status symbol, like driving an SUV. When SUVs first came out, everybody had to have one.
Yeah. So these stairs are even pretty cool. So you'll notice this board here is much smaller than this one. That creates that gap there, and it's flush on this side. That's so they can push the trunk up against that edge and shove it up into the attic.
Okay.
The other side there. So very simple, but we don't think about things like that today.
We don't. No, we back porch. Oh, croquet set. I remember playing that.
So you'll notice the drastic slope out here.
Uh-huh.
It's for water runoff. We're not sure why they made it so drastic. It definitely did not need to be this dramatic, but they did for whatever reason. But the wood they used out here on the porch and the front porch is cypress.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like cypress, which
So-
is, I mean, it's water resistant. Yes.
So they used to have old growth cypress trees growing here out there in what's marsh now, what was the rice fields. Originally, that section was actually a cypress swamp area, and then it led out to more marshy habitat and then to the river, the Altamaha River. But they cleared all that out when they started the rice plantation here. So these are original boards here from 1851. Whether or not they kept the trees from the trees that they tore down, we're not sure. Kept the lumber, we're not really sure how they handled that, but they are original.
Looked like they screwed up over there.
Yeah, I don't know if it got damaged. I do know there was a deck up there, and it led down, there were stairs that led down to the ground. There's actually a jib door
Okay,
up there.
that might be why that was flattened out then.
Yeah. So
Right
I'm not
here.
sure how they had it down here.
Okay.
But you can go through that screen door there. There's the outdoor kitchen. You can check that out.
Okay.
A slave quarters there, and then more slave.
Okay, we can go in here, she said. We're gonna go check this out. That's private, can't go in there. Okay. All right. Slave quarters here. Some nice old cast iron there. All this stuff is original to the plantation, folks. I'm sure the apples aren't, but old chopping block there. Man, okay. And she said to make sure to check out the garage. Woo! All right, let's head out through here. Woo! Actually, I'm sorry, that was the kitchen. Okay. I don't know what this would have been, but the garage is on the other side. This would have been smokehouse. That's what that is, smokehouse. Dang these bugs. Woo! Look at that. This ain't something you see on a plantation. This was Ophelia's 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass. Last registration was 1983. Need some upholstery work done. Man. Can't see much in here, can we? And they say they take it out in the sunshine every now and then, drive it around the yard to keep it running. This was Ophelia's last purchase before she died. So it's out here. She is the one that owned, her family through generations owned the plantation. Rice fields would have been out that way, from what I'm told. So, and the rice mill foundation is over here somewhere in that direction. So, Yeah, I'm not going to try to read all that. Oh. There is a place where you can go and walk out through there. There's a deck. You can look out over the marsh for bird watchers, I guess. It's a big old tree right there.